All right, we're trying this again. Episode 116. The first try didn't record any sounds, so maybe we'll talk about the same stuff. Maybe we won't. You won't even know. Episode 116. Destry's going to talk about a weird band named Big Head Todd and the Monsters, which I found out is not a band from the Muppets. Mm-hmm. I'm going to be talking a little bit about the Persian Empire and Esther, and hopefully it takes us time.
So
we recorded for about 13 minutes and got the signal from Chris. No sound has been recorded, so we had to start over.
And it was really the best audio that I've ever recorded.
I know, man.
Goodness, it was going to be gold.
An episode to rival all other episodes.
It kind of worked out well though, because I went in a little bit too deep. This is what I want to do. I want to talk about a little bit of life experience this week because some weird things happened. And then I'll introduce Big Head Todd and the Monsters and talk to our viewers and listeners about how they can interact with us about that band or really anything else. Mm-hmm. We have something new that we want to introduce. So, but let me start with this, Josh. Good class last night.
Cool.
We had 7-8 people. That's our going thing. If everybody showed up at the same time, I think we'd have 12 to 15 right now. Mm-hmm. But we're
depends always, what you mean by everybody, because we've had a lot of people pass through that class.
The regulars.
Yeah.
All the regulars, I think we'd have somewhere around 10, 12, something like that. Mm-hmm. But it always seems like somebody's 2 or 3 are missing. Don doesn't show up every time. John and Lee lately they haven't been able to show up every time, where they're usually there a lot. So we ended up with, and it's a good class. It's a good small class, you know.
I have a lot of fun with it.
It's a lot of fun. We always enjoy your part of that. Josh likes to use Google Earth and show us where things are. And I think Natasha asked last night, how far would it be from here to there if they had to walk? And it was like 300 miles.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's through mountains.
Right.
So that gives you the sense that, man, these people weren't just, getting on their scooters and driving from here to there. They were hiking.
Yeah, we're going through the book of Esther and how it relates to like Nehemiah and Ezra and different other things. And the Persian Empire, they had a ceremonial capital in Persepolis and an administrative capital in Shushan. And so the question was, how far is it between the two? So I had Google Earth up because we're looking through, the archaeological remains of these different ancient buildings. And so just stretched a line between the two. I was like, about 300 miles.
300 miles.
Yeah, as the crow flies.
It's crazy. So let me talk about a little bit of experience that Don and I had this week real quick. How can I say this? Okay. So Friday, I'm sitting there, and all of a sudden my vision goes blurry. I don't mean blurry. I mean my vision goes. I can see light. I couldn't see. I could if Donna was sitting right in front of me. I don't think I could tell it was her, just because I could just in both eyes. And it's one of those times you go, you know what I mean? You try to. And nothing would work, and it was just extremely blurry. And then, oh, great, I started getting numb right here. Oh, this is nice. Chris, it wasn't that bad. Kind of sounded that way, but it really wasn't that bad. But my S's were kind of instead of s. They were sh.
Sounds like you had a TIA.
Yeah, that may be. Ended up not being anything.
What's a TIA?
It's not a stroke. It's a clot that goes through.
Okay.
And it can be maybe found and taken out. It's a level below a stroke, I think.
Yeah, it's the level. It's the level below a stroke. It's weird, but it's like a mini stroke, micro stroke is what it's like.
And you don't want to have them because a lot of times those are precursors to a stroke, to a big stroke. So I'm out in the community. I called Donna. She calls the ambulance, and they come get me, take me to the hospital. Da-da-da. I'm bringing this up because I want our viewers to learn something. Okay, what did we learn? Okay, so if you go in by ambulance, you have a priority. If you go into a emergency room, and you may not be a priority, but if you go into an ambulance, you have a priority. We thought.
No, you don't.
Yeah, we thought that was the case. But what happened was the symptoms went away whenever I was with the ambulance people and the first responders. So I was taken in by the ambulance, but then I was triaged behind the scenes, but then I was brought out to the weight room like everybody else. Mm-hmm. It ended up being okay because it was productive. It was we were out there for 3 hours, but they were doing things, right? Taking blood, doing an EKG, they're doing all this stuff. I don't mind that if we're being productive. I don't want to sit out there for 3 hours, then they bring me back and do everything. I'd rather it happen every 45 minutes, every hour, and that's what was going on. And that's Baptist, okay?
That's what I was going to ask, if it was Baptist. About a month ago, I had gone to a doctor visit in Pace. Mm-hmm. I get a phone call from J. Dale, and she says, my blood pressure is like 215 over like 111, and I'm having chest pains. Mm-hmm. She called an ambulance. They took her to Baptist. She sat there. Well, she got in. They did some blood work, triaged her kind of thing real quick, and I drove straight from that appointment to the Baptist hospital. And we sat there for almost 8 hours in the waiting room, on and off. They would check her blood pressure, and it was like she didn't have a heart attack. They don't know what happened. There was no issue that they could find. But again, just because you go in by ambulance does not mean you get a priority.
So this is what we learned about that, at least for stroke. If you go into Sacred Heart with stroke symptoms, you are a priority, regardless if the symptoms have subsided or not. You're under stroke protocol at Sacred Heart. Mm-hmm. Now, the reason that I'm 95 to 99% sure that's the case is because of the conversations that I go back and think about Don and I had with the first responders. The lady that was treating me did everything but said, I would go to Sacred Heart if I were you. I don't think they're allowed to say that. But what she did say was, what Donna said because she showed up when the ambulance got there. Donna showed up about the same, a little bit afterwards. Donna said, can you take, they said, what hospital do you want to go to? Donna said, prefer Baptist because all of his stuff is there. All my records are there and all that stuff. And the ambulance person said, yeah, that's fine, but if they can't treat him there, they're going to take him to Sacred Heart. Mm-hmm. Well, that to me tells me that we should have gone to Sacred Heart. But she couldn't say that, right? She can't give a preference. I think she'd get in trouble if she did. So anyway, and after that conversation, I learned from talking to her that regardless of what happens, if you go to Sacred Heart, you're going to go under protocol of stroke, and that means that you're pushed through the line. If that means something to somebody, okay, fine. If it doesn't, whatever. Our experience at Baptist turned out to be really good. I stayed there for 2 nights, and it was an overall positive experience. They did every kind of test, which I needed to get done anyway, because I'm going to see a neurologist in July sometime, and they're going to want to have all these tests. Now, my hope is that the tests that they did are going to be sufficient, but they're probably going to want to do all those daggone tests again. But they all showed no stroke, possible what you said, but probably, actually not possible what you said, that was likely. But since I've already had a workup and tests done for Meniere's and vestibular, they're thinking that it's more likely vestibular. This is another thing that I learned. doctors are, at least in cases like this, it's not necessarily the case that they're looking for something. They're ruling out things. Mm-hmm. They're ruling out a stroke, right? And that makes sense if you think about it.
Transient ischemic attack.
Yes.
Yeah, transient.
TIA.
TIA. So they're ruling things out. So they ruled out a stroke. They ruled out TIA. And what they said is that this is a wonderful diagnosis: atrophy of the brain. Can you say that again, please? And it wasn't that.
Not funny,
I know a lot of people who suffer from that.
I know. Yeah. That's not what exactly they said, but that is exactly what they meant. The word atrophy was in there, and it had brain in it, and those are the only two words I heard. And she said, well, it's normal with age. I went, oh, okay. It's normal with age. Keep in mind, all of my nurses were 24, 25. They all look like they could be sisters, except for the one African-American lady from England. They were all fantastic. They all did a really good job, I thought. Anyway, so it was 24 hours before I heard atrophy of the brain till I learned that that's pretty normal for age.
So what does atrophy of the brain mean?
It's just stuff that happens as you get older. You stop being able to process stuff like you used to be able to process. Your mind is getting old.
I can agree with that 110%.
Yeah, I can too. It's obvious.
I'm a little ahead of you, and and there's days I sit there and go, I'm not to the point where I walk in the kitchen and forgot I went in there for a glass of water.
Yeah.
But then once I get the glass of water, it's like,
yeah,
where am I going back to?
So loss of brain cells and the connections between them.
There you go. That's atrophy of the brain.
So,
that's what it is.
The scary part is I do engineering. Used to do engineering. I would question sometimes now my ability. Not that I don't know stuff, but I would have it triple checked.
Yeah.
Just to make sure that, things are right.
Yeah, sure. I think that's wise. It's wise to do that. I was almost talked out of thinking that I didn't put never mind. My top up on my car, but never mind.
Well, so this says, if you want to avoid that or try to combat it, obviously, exercise and diet, but mental stimulation, engaging in challenging activities such as puzzles, reading, learning new skills, that kind of stuff. Social engagement.
Oh, forget about that.
Maintain social connections to prevent isolation, which is associated with brain shrinkage.
I'll take the brain atrophy.
Make sure you're getting enough sleep. Make sure you're not stressed out too much.
All the stuff that you think about whenever you're trying to live a good life.
Right.
This is, I don't think it's any different than a knee that you wear out or an elbow that you wear out because you use it a lot.
Mostly it's the mental stimulation, though. I remember I had a chemistry professor in college who was, he was ancient. I don't even know how old he was, but even though, he was this just very, very old-looking man, his brain was quick as anything.
Nice.
And it's probably because, he was actively engaging in teaching chemistry and doing research and all that kind of just keeping his brain busy.
Right, sure. Yeah, I think a lot of tests show that's the key to staying sharp and staving off, I don't know about Parkinson's, but Alzheimer's perhaps,
Neuroplasticity.
Yeah, right. Well, anyway, that happened, and so the rooms at Baptist, there's going to be an advertisement for Baptist. Man, they're like little hotels. Mm-hmm. It was a really nice place. Even the room that you go to before you get put in a room, that was a big closed doors. You just felt like you were by yourself. Big TV, you're sitting there. If you're not sick and feeling bad, there's worse places to be, And Donna was there and I was there. We were worried about what was going on at the time, but it was comfortable. You agree, Chris?
Based on my last experience with Baptist, not with J. Dale, myself, I went in and I spent 24 hours in the hall in the ER because they had no beds.
They had no beds.
And we were surrounded, believe me, they were surrounding some weird people in there. But Baptist built a brand new hospital. It's a beautiful hospital. But the problem is everybody goes there. And so they have 60 beds in their ER. The trouble is they don't either have enough staff or they get so overwhelmed with things that are going on because everybody's trying to be at Baptist. And so I will agree it's a beautiful hospital. They do great care. But they needed to make the hospital bigger and have more staff is my personal opinion.
If both Donna and I agree that if you have a choice, going to Gulf Breeze Hospital is by far the best choice because it's not crowded and because the care is good and because it's not old, it's not new, it's just a hospital like you'd think a hospital, but you get in and you get out, in our experience, a lot quicker than other places. But we didn't really have I guess we did have a choice, but once we were at Baptist, we were,
Well, they're also not going to drive you over the bridge in an ambulance to go to Gulf Breeze unless you have something specific. But
so anyway, that is what it is, and I see the neurologist in July to see what happens, and we'll take it from there. But that was a thing that came out of nowhere. It came out of nowhere, nowhere. I just got off my bike. I just got a really good ride on my bike, and it just.
How long did it take for your vision to come back?
It was about 5 minutes, less than 5 minutes for me to be able to tell who you are, but altogether back to normal 5 minutes. But I can't really tell. I was able to walk into a store and ask for help within 5 minutes. The peak of it though was probably 2.5, 3 minutes, and then a little bit of a hangover and kind of what happened, fatigue, kind of a thing that always happens.
So have you started thinking about ways to combat brain atrophy?
Yeah, I'm gonna ride my bike more.
All right.
Ride your bike, but while doing crossword puzzles.
Crossword puzzles. No, not really.
There's like a famous exercise you can do to like both test and help develop neuroplasticity. It's where you take a pen or a pencil in both hands, and with one hand you start writing letters, and at the same time with the other hand you start writing numbers. You just A with one hand, 1 with another hand, B, 2, C,
right?
3, and you do it at the same time.
You don't do one at a time. You do it at the same time.
At the same time.
I don't know if I could do that at my peak.
It's very difficult. I've tried it. It is possible, and you do get better with time. And then switch to doing letters in the other hand and numbers in the other hand.
Well,
it's fun. It's fun to try it and see like if you can force your brain, because your brain has to like pretty much eliminate everything else in its ability to think and focus on motor control.
I guess that's the point.
Yeah.
Right? That's the whole point.
It's really interesting.
Well, one of the interesting things, one of the reasons that I was kept more than one night is that more than one night, is that the doctor came in, asked me what my name was, where I was, and I started thinking, I had to think about that. Who the president is, and for some reason, guys, I thought Obama all right up front. I thought, but it's not. No, it's Trump. So I had to think
His
about
ghost
those
remains.
things. She asked me, "What month is it?" I couldn't come up with a month. I couldn't come up with a month, and I was looking at Dawn. I said, "That's the weirdest sensation. I can't tell you what month it is." And she said, "All right."
Well, that's happening to you now to me. Like, I'll be thinking, it's Tuesday. it's Wednesday or it's Sunday. I'm starting to like, what day of the week is it?
That's different. That was a different sensation. Everybody's had that. This not being able to come up with a month was a totally different sensation.
Like you couldn't even come up with a name of a month?
I started going, okay, it's January, February, March, April. That's what I went back to. But I had to consciously think of that.
Yeah.
So I got two. There was two. You can rate 0 to 10 points on the scale for stroke protocol, and I ranked 2 points. Not being able to come up with the month is 1 point. Second point was she did this thing. They do this. Can you feel both? Rub your leg, both legs. Can you feel the same sensation in both arms? Yes. She got up here to my face, and I couldn't. I could feel the one on the left, but not as well as I could feel the one on the right. So that was another point. That and not being able to come up with a month was the reason that I stayed in there for so long, doing all those tests.
Okay.
So, to me, that's just another. That's the doctor calling to make sure that I'm still around because I've got so much atrophy in my brain. She's not sure if I can make it. It's looking like it's going to be the headache thing, the migraine, vestibular migraines.
Yeah,
it's just more of that stuff. So anyway, check for Baptist Hospital, I think, and all the care that they did there. Let's transition into Big Head Todd and the Monsters.
Okay.
After I say, I'm sorry, Donna. Jeez, girl. She had just taken her mother to the doctor to have oral surgery. She backed up in the driveway, and I called, will you come get me?
So she's taking care of two people.
Yes. Yes. Thank God her sister was there. Thank God her sister Hope was there. Else I would have been in the hospital by myself, which would have been fine, but it's always nice to have somebody there with you. So, Big Head Todd and in the Monsters. From Colorado. These guys have been playing music for 30 plus years.
I've never even heard of them.
A lot of people haven't. They are a band
30 plus years. They started in the 90s?
Started in the 90s.
Okay.
Started in the 90s.
I don't like thinking about that.
Band performed in the
90s was 30 years ago.
Actually, they started in the 80s, so they've been around longer than that.
Okay.
Started to perform in the 80s in Boulder, Colorado, around while attending college. The sound is a mixture, I would say, of blues and rock, kind of jam band like the Dead, but it sounds nothing like the Dead. Alternative college kind of a thing, and I will put rockabilly in there also.
Okay.
It's really a mixture of a lot of music, and I think after seeing some videos of them on YouTube, I think that mixture comes from not only the type of instruments that they play, but the way they play them. The drummer is psychotic, man. He plays very spastically, and I mean that in a medical way. He's all over the place. His head's going like this. He's not looking at anybody. And usually drummers and bassists are in tight communication with each other, and I guess they probably are. They've been doing it for 40 years. They're probably communicating with slight eye contact, but you wouldn't know it. This drummer looks like he could be up there playing by himself, nobody looking at him, and he'd be totally fine. He's just has several different unique things. First of all, his drum set are nothing but floor toms. 2 over here, 1 here. He's got 2 snare drums. He's got a hi-hat, which is usually about right here, chin level or below, played with the right hand. His is head level, and he plays with the left and or the right hand. 3 big cymbals. He grips his sticks with his back 2 fingers on both hands. So if you look at him play, it looks like he's barely holding on to it. He could hold on to a stick and move it left to right, and the stick would go almost 180 degrees. So he uses that to be able to flick his wrist while he's over here. He just flicks his wrist, and then he hits the cymbal way over there and does the same thing over here. If he's concentrating on the right side, he can flick his wrist and just hit a cymbal or hit a drum way over here. Most unique thing I've ever seen. Very good sound. Drummer. He knows some really good rudimental ways of playing. The guitarist and lead singer is also the writer, the main writer, and he has a plethora of guitars that he plays. At one concert I saw, he started with Red Rocks. At Red Rocks, he played a dobro. Then he played 6-7 more guitars. Keyboardist, really good, plays a flat slide guitar, brings a lot of rock to it. Bassist, looks like a tractor driver, flannel, just really big low bass. And I love that backbone, that really good deep backbone. Very unique band. I would like to do this. I'd like for our listeners and viewers to go on our, now if, I don't know if y'all have heard about this or not, guys, and our listeners, but there's a thing called Facebook.
Yes.
It's a new...
I've heard of it.
It's only been out for 10, 15 years, something like that.
Kinda, yeah.
It's really
starting to take off.
It's really starting to take off. It really is. And Josh has created a page, I don't know, 2 years, 3 years.
A long time ago,
A long time ago. We've just never used it. We didn't... It had an intent to begin with, and then that intent kind of went away. We didn't need to use it, and we haven't used it.
Yeah, at one time, we were, the plan was we were going to be one of 3 or 4 podcasts from our church, and we're all going to have different social media sites associated with our stuff. And so we were using it back then so that we were all kind of like, cross promoting and, having a social media presence. And then we ended up being the only one that lasted.
Right.
And once everybody else, all the other ones sort of dissolved, I kind of stopped keeping up with the whole social media thing anyway.
Right. Well, I noticed that you have picked that back up with our class, posting back on social media. So all of us can start trying to do. I'm going to make a special effort to try to communicate with people on Facebook and see what happens. We still have our YouTube
social engagement.
Huh? Social engagement.
From afar.
Although I don't know if social media counts for improving your brain.
I'm not sure. What I thought I would do with it is to try, put up links to Big Head Todd and the Monsters, right? Put up links to the bands I'm talking about or whatever, and people can start checking that out, because I want you to know about this band. This band is it's really tight, really, really good, really unique. So I'll do that this week. I'll put some things up there, some links to. They seem to play at the Red Rocks amphitheater a lot. They're from Colorado, so they did one concert there during COVID where they were the only ones there. There was nobody there, so it was a really good opportunity to be able to look around and see what Red Rocks really looks like. That was kind of cool, so I'll put that link up there. But anyway, this is just the introduction to them, and next week we'll talk more deeply about Big Head Todd and the Monsters.
So when you said University of Colorado Boulder, my brain immediately went to my uncle, who has long since passed away back in 1973, but he was a student at University of Colorado, and I think it was his freshman year. He was an engineering major, but never graduated, because his freshman year, he and some friends went mountain climbing in 1973, and ended up they weren't seasoned climbers by any means. They were just indestructible freshman college students, and they ended up dying on the mountain in the middle of a winter storm.
Oh my gosh.
1973 in Boulder. Yeah.
Wow.
I never met him, but I do have his old calculus book and slide rule.
My goodness.
And a technical drawing of the USS Enterprise from Star Trek.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Man, how tragic.
Yeah.
He was 20-something years old, probably?
No, I think like 18 or 19.
Gracious.
Yeah.
Wow, how about that?
About the age of my daughter right now. Yeah.
Goodness gracious. Wow. Well, I'm glad you got those things from him.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yep.
So last night we had class, and it was pretty good.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. So we've been going
is.
through a series on the Book of Esther. We've done it before, but we're kind of doing it a different way right now. At church we go to, the pastor, he just started a his own series. It's a 3-week series on the book of Esther that he called For Such a Time as This. And so I thought it'd be cool to do a companion series to that I would call The Timing of This.
Yeah.
That talks about a lot of the history behind the book of Esther. And, if you're going to talk about the history of the Persian Empire at the time of Esther, then you also got to talk about Ezra, you have to talk about Nehemiah, you have to talk about Daniel,
right.
Different things like that. And, last week we talked about this prophet Isaiah, which is about 140 years before King Cyrus, who was the first king of the Achaemenid dynasty of Persia, called him out by name and said, you're going to let God's people come back and start rebuilding Jerusalem after the Babylonian captivity, and which is just by itself is a really mind-blowing thing to think about. You being the king of an empire, and all of a sudden some random scroll from the archives of the kingdom of one of the kingdoms that you've come into possession of gets presented to you, and it's 140 some odd years old, and it names you by name. That's gotta be weird.
So that's like my great-great-great-grandfather writing a letter and mentioning Destry LeBrun in that letter.
Right.
And what he's going to be doing at a certain time.
Yeah, because that's, this is 2026 minus 140. That's like, 1880. Someone from 1886 wrote a letter that said, "Hey, Destry, this is what you're going to do."
And I'm reading it. Wow.
Yes. And it's not just any Destry, it's you specifically. There's stuff in there that identifies this letter from 1886 was written to you, Destry LeBrun, today in 2026.
That's nuts. Wow.
So, and that's, what we encounter, the kind of things we encounter in Scripture.
Yeah.
Which is why I wanted to call it, the timing of this, because that type of thing happens throughout the book of Esther. And, last night we in our Bible study, we were talking a little bit more about the history of it, because Esther chapter 1, there's this huge, we're introduced to the king of Persia, and in the Bible he's referred to as Ahasuerus. In Greek, we would call him Xerxes the First. And if you've ever seen the movie 300, I forget who stars in it, but it's the Battle of Thermopylae between the Spartans and the Greek armies led by Leonidas the First against the armies of Xerxes the First. And Xerxes, king of Persia, sends a messenger to Leonidas, basically telling him, like, look, we can do this the easy way or the hard way. Go ahead and surrender, and you'll become members of the Persian Empire. You'll be friends of Persia, all this stuff. And now the movie sort of departs from what happened what actually happened in history, because it shows a really dramatic Leonidas, kicking the messenger off of the edge into this huge pit, saying, "This is Sparta." It's not what actually happened. He sent the messenger back empty-handed and basically said, "If you want our weapons, come take them." Okay. And so the battle ensues. Well, prior to that, Xerxes ends up winning the Battle of Thermopylae. But prior to that, we read Esther chapter 1, which is a huge military strategy planning session / party / banquet thing that lasted for 6 months. And prior to that, Xerxes, he commissioned several preparatory missions / engineering feats, building a bridge over the Hellespont, modern day Dardanelles, digging an entire canal through the Isthmus of Mount Athos in southern Greece, because it was really dangerous to take ships down around the peninsula, and so they just cut a big channel right through it and made a canal that the ships could go through.
Nothing called a ditch witch back then either.
Nothing called a ditch witch. There was just the king told you to do this or you get killed.
Probably not really good shovels either. I don't know what they used, Chris, but
Yeah, I don't know.
It wasn't,
I mean, they
like a modern-day shovel.
They didn't have iron shovels and things like that. I mean, per se, you would have had wooden shovels and probably stone mallets and things like that to break all this stuff up.
So to put this in perspective, it was kind of like digging a trench big enough for boats to go through the Florida peninsula, right? The Florida,
right? Not quite that long. I think it was only about 20 miles or so.
But it was,
if that, yeah.
Man.
But still, for society that didn't have a John Deere, front end loader or anything, or backhoe.
Quite the feat.
Yeah, this is quite the feat. Now that canal has long since been filled in with sediment, but even on aerial photos, you can still see, the depression where it used to be. So all of that happened, and then so the way has been prepared, and they have this 6 month planning meeting or 144-day planning meeting in Shushan, the palace, and you can even go on Google Earth to Shushan and see modern day the remains of this palace, and it's clear enough to where you can see individual rooms where these events were taking place, like the outer court, the inner court, the throne room, the where the harem was kept, and all this kind of stuff. And so you have the events of chapter 1 of Esther, this big planning meeting / banquet / party, and then you have the events around Queen Vashti being deposed as queen, because in the middle of this, drunken, crowd of people all partying, the king decided, I want Vashti to come in, and the way people interpret it is want her to come in and basically wear nothing but the crown to show off to everybody how amazing she is, and how much of a trophy wife Xerxes has, all that kind of stuff, and she refused, and as a result, she was deposed as queen. Well, in the middle between chapters 1 and chapter 1 and 2 of Esther, you have the Greco-Persian Wars. You have the Battle of Thermopylae, which was featured in that movie 300, where Xerxes won that war. There is a traitor in the midst of the Greek in the Greek ranks called Ephialtes, and going up against not just the armies of Greece but the special forces of Sparta. It was a very difficult battle, and Persia gained an advantage because there was a traitor named Ephialtes who showed them the secret route behind the Greek forces. So they circled around behind and ended up winning the Battle of Thermopylae. And that was a huge matter of pride to Xerxes, because it gave him confidence, a false sense of confidence going into the next battle, the Battle of Salamis. Battle of Salamis was a naval battle, and the Persian fleet was really good at long distance fighting, but wasn't really good at close, ship to ship type of fighting. And so he was convinced to go into this little area by the city of Salamis. Xerxes is on the shore, leading the fleet, watching this all unfold, and the Greek naval fleet just absolutely wasted the Persian fleet, and Persia got defeated. Right after that was the Battle of Plataea and the Battle of, I think it was Mysia, which were land battles. Xerxes ended up getting defeated there as well. And so, trying to go to Greece and do battle with them, and coming back for the most part losing horribly, he comes back to Shushan, and a war-weary king comes up to Esther chapter 2, and it says, he wanted a wife, and he remembered, I don't have Vashti anymore, so I want a wife. And that's where we're introduced to not just Esther, because those of us who are familiar with the narrative of Esther or the book of Esther, we know how this story unfolds. Esther is guided by her cousin Mordecai, who sort of adopts her because her parents are gone. Instructs her and puts her in the right place to become the next queen of Persia, the next wife of Xerxes, Ahasuerus. And when we talk about the timing of this, it's really neat how Scripture just like throws these little subtle details in that we often just kind of read past, because it introduces Esther and Mordecai, their cousins, and it says there was a certain Jew named Mordecai, and he was from the well, actually, let me read it because it's kind of neat how subtle this is. Esther chapter 2. Here we go. Esther 2:1. All right. This is verse 5. Now in Shushan the palace, there was a certain Jew whose name was Mordecai, the son of Jair, the son of Shimei, the son of Kish, a Benjamite, who had been carried away from Jerusalem with the captivity which had been carried away with Jeconiah king of Judah, whom Nebuchadnezzar the king of Babylon had carried away. And he brought up Hadassah, that is Esther, his uncle's daughter, for she had neither father nor mother, and the maid was fair and beautiful, whom Mordecai, when her father and mother were dead, took for his own daughter. A lot of information in there that we tend to read over if we're not obsessed with genealogies and timelines and stuff like I am. Mm-hmm. Well, first thing, Mordecai, it kind of stinks to have the name Mordecai because in Hebrew, like it's a phrase that says little man, but also because he's in Persia, that first two syllables, Morduk, he's named after the god Marduk. Mordecai. But it says he's the son of Jair, the son of Shimei, the son of Kish, a Benjamite. If you're obsessed with genealogies, those names really, really stick out. Because this is like saying, the family of Trump.
Okay.
When you say the family of Trump, or, so-and-so is the grandson of Trump, or from the Trump family, or pick, or maybe you're a Habsburg or something like that. If you're in World War I era, or think of these like famous family names. You're a Rockefeller, or you're some. That's what the name Kish was, because of the 12 tribes of Israel, you have the tribe of Benjamin, which he says he was Mordecai was a Benjamite, but from the tribe of Benjamin, he comes from this family named Kish. And this is an important family because the first king of Israel was a guy named Saul, who was a Benjamite, who was from the family of Kish. This says that Mordecai was a Benjamite. He was from the family of Kish, and he was descended from a guy named Shimei, which Shimei wasn't king, but he was king adjacent. And back in the early days of the kingdom of Israel, this is pre-split. David is king, and his son Absalom is actively seeking his life, trying to kill David and assume the throne, and they're running. And David is this is in 2 Samuel, I think chapter 8, if I remember correctly. But David and his mighty men are running, and there's a guy named Shimei who catches up with him, who is from the family of Kish, a Benjamite, and he's cursing David, saying that you stole the throne from my family, you're a bloody man, and just like as they're walking along, this guy just keeps following him, yelling at him, cursing at him, all this stuff. And one of David's mighty men, a guy named Abishai, he turns to David. He's like, David, you're king. Why are you going to take this? Say the word, I will go and take off his head. I'll go, end this guy. And David makes what ends up being a very critical and important decision for the future of the entire nation of Israel. This is 5 centuries before the events in Esther. He tells Abishai, he's like, well, look, my own son's trying to kill me. This guy's yelling at me. Who knows why people are doing this stuff, but for some reason, God's doing all this stuff. I'm not gonna hold it again. I'm not gonna go and kill him or anything. Just let him go. Just ignore him. And it says that he followed him their entire trip, and he kept cursing him, and they were weary because of what he was doing to him. And but that little decision ended up becoming extremely important, because Esther chapter 2, Mordecai, the son of Jair, the son of Shimei, the son of Kish, a Benjamite, and Esther was his cousin. So had David made the decision to just kill this guy, Esther and Mordecai would have never existed. And so when I talk about the timing of this, it goes to show you, and we talked about this last night, that God is so far above the events that occur on our timeline. Not in the sense of that he's removed from them, but he's so sovereign when it comes to the events of our world, that he sees issues 5 centuries before they even become issues, and he's already working on a solution to them. Because Shimei was going to end up becoming, the descendant of Shimei was going to be Mordecai and Esther, who was going to be the mechanism that God uses to save an entire group of people from being eradicated by the plans of Haman. And so I just think it's neat. God's never in a hurry. He has everything under control. And we have evidence after evidence after evidence of that. Right. And when he calls us to have faith in his plan, it's not blind faith. It's faith that's based on empirical evidence.
Right. Wow. That's amazing. It's intriguing to know that type of thing is throughout the Bible, and we, like you said, we read over it and don't pay attention to the proof. If we're looking for proof, if somebody's looking for proof, it seems like genealogy is a good way. And any time that there's a time mentioned in the Bible, those things can be proven or unproven.
Right.
And you being obsessed with genealogy and timelines, there's never a contradiction. There's always proof there that God is who he says he is and still is. So thanks for bringing that to our attention, Josh. I just have this visual of the king cruising along. I don't know if he's being carried or he's on a horse or whatever he's doing, but this guy's heckling him. You suck.
Yep. Pretty much. Yeah.
Get off the horse. Get out of here. And his buddy comes up to him. Hey, let me take this guy out. He's not worth my time. Don't worry about him. And he's persistent anyway. However long the trip was, he was there the whole time, holding up signs. You know what I mean? You stink.
You don't deserve to be king. Right. You stole it from my family. You suck.
It's just too much. Anyway, it's a good visual.
Your mother is ugly.
Yes, sir. I know her. She is really ugly. She's not attractive at all. Anyway. All right, guys. Thanks. Chris, thanks.
Yep.
Josh, thank you. I got to go to a doctor's appointment, so I got to get out here. Thank you all for listening and watching. Donna, I love you. We'll see everybody next week. Episode 117. Make sure you get on Facebook and engage with us, and we'll take it from there. Thanks. Bye.